And now, so also, just to move on to one of the other horsemen of the apocalypse who seems to be gallivanting across the political scene right now, we've also got this, burgeoning war between Israel and Iran. Now, talk to us about the politics of this here. Kamala Harris has claimed they helped Israel defeat Iran's attack when they launched almost 200 ballistic missiles the other day. Now the U.S. seems to be saying, oh, well, we're going to help plan an airstrike, but don't go near the nuclear stuff in Iran. How much, though, credibility does this administration have, given that they really helped put Iran back into the position of strength they have, where they're able to threaten Israel and the entire Middle East?
Now, it's a good thing for Democrats that most elections in this country don't get resolved based upon foreign policy, because they would be getting crushed with this. They just would. Kamala Harris wants to have it both ways. Joe Biden, look, there's some real serious concern about who's running the White House right now. I happen to think it's the chief of staff and some of the cabinet secretaries. But the foreign policy issues right now are overwhelmingly bad for the Democrats. Kamala Harris desperately wants a ceasefire. Joe Biden desperately wants a ceasefire. They certainly don't want any sort of escalation. If something happens, James, if something dramatic happens, even more dramatic than we've seen already between now and the election day in early November, this election could, at the very end, that could be the October surprise, and you pivot to an election about foreign policy, which is not going to help the incumbent Democrat Party. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and finally, just to tie all of these issues together, Mick, Kamala Harris portrays Trump as this sort of agent of chaos. But to me, I look at the headlines. I see a port strike, I see war, I see flood, all of these things happening, and in many cases being mismanaged on their watch. Does this line that the Republicans are the agents of chaos really fly anymore? And is Trump tacking to be kind of the normalcy candidate?
Look, it's not hard to be more normal than Kamala Harris, but I mean, I don't know if that's where we're headed, James. I'm not sure yet that the public really believes that Donald Trump is not an agent of chaos. Certainly, the media has made him into sort of this caricature of himself. But face it, the man still likes a little chaos every now and then. He does stuff on purpose. He floats trial balloons. He says things to sort of, see how people react to them. We've talked about that on the show before. Maybe I'm going to do this. What do you folks think about that? Maybe I'll put a cap on credit cards. All these kinds of things he'll just sort of float out and you'll never hear from them again. Having worked with him, the chaos is not nearly as bad as the media makes it out to be. I would describe it as relatively normal for a White House based upon the other people I've talked to. The Kamala Harris story is not being told. Less than, I think, 10% of the people who worked for her 3 or 4 years ago still work for her. Her turnover is extraordinarily high in her office. We all know about folks like this in Washington, D.C. We all know who the bad bosses are. We all know the people who are always losing good quality staff. And Kamala Harris is on that list, and she's been in the vice president's office. So be very curious to see if that component of chaos comes out. She's not a good manager. I don't think that'll be an issue in the race, but it may be an issue in how she runs her campaign in the last couple of weeks.
Fair enough. Mick Mulvaney, always great to have your insights. Thank you so much.